Welcome, welcome. Everybody's coming on. There we go. Now I'm starting to see some faces. Hi, everybody. Hi, Lynn and Joel. Welcome back. Hi, Amy and Sharon and Phyllis and Francesada. Francesada. I don't know. I'm probably totally ruining that name. I apologize, sweetheart. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Nancy Cook. How you doing? Hi, Rebecca and BJ and Sandy and Sandy. A couple of Sandys. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Jean and Karen and Maria. Hi, Sharon and Suzanne and Noreen and Ghislaine. Welcome. Lorraine. Hi. And Cynthia. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see you. It's I was looking, I said, my goodness, it's been a month since we've been together. And I am hoping that you've all been meditating while we have been on this break here together. The intention of this gathering right from the very beginning was to just really support you in building a meditation practice, starting simply with just a few minutes tracking, starting with 5 minutes, going to 10 minutes. We're staying at 10 minutes in an effort to really allow you to build on success. And so I'd love to start by just briefly seeing maybe a show of hands. If you're on a computer, if you go to the reactions button down below, you can do a thumbs up or a heart or a applause for yourself. But let's just give me a reaction if you've been meditating pretty consistently. This is a chance for you to kind of celebrate your success. Colleen, you're sideways now, girl. Good. Look at these hands raised. I love it. Let me see. I'm just going to scroll through the pages here. Good, good, good. This is good. Great. Great, great, great. I love it. I'm glad to hear it. And so, let's just take a moment to hear from a couple of people. How is meditating consistently changing your life in a positive way? I'm going to assume the hands raised are going to be giving me, let's go to Gordon. I don't think you're Gordon, but I'm going to say Gordon. Hi. I'm asking you to unmute. There you go. You unmute yourself. There you go. Hi.
Hi.
What's your first name?
It's Susie.
Oh, hi, Susie.
Tried to change my name in it, but it's not letting me. So I'm just going with my husband's now. But
that's okay.
I've had a lot of stressful things going on in my life the last few weeks, the last few years, and it's gotten worse. But my reaction to it is so different. Like I'm much calmer.
Yeah.
I don't like blurt out whatever I'm thinking in the moment. I'm more able to just step back and not engage, like drop, not pull on the rope so much in reactionary ways. And that's been amazing for me. I feel like I'm putting my self-care first these days. I go in cycles with this, and I know for sure that right now at this time that this is the best thing I can be doing. And I so appreciate you doing this. I've followed you for a very long time through your newsletters, and when I lived in Vermont, life makeover groups, and the things you've shared have been amazing, and I've been able to share with other people. So,
well, thank you, Susie. Thank you. And that's one of the real big benefits. Last Friday, I was getting ready for our retreat. We had our Self-Care by the Sea retreat this past weekend. This morning, I was writing in my journal. I do morning pages every morning. And I was writing about how I've been teaching retreats now for probably more than 20 years. And I was writing about how Friday was the calmest day before a retreat I've ever had. And I know it's directly related to my meditation practice, because I now know from teaching myself how to sit still, close my eyes, watch my mind, not engage with it, not scare myself with my thoughts, not bother myself with my thoughts, not aggravate myself with my thoughts. I'm able to bring that into my daily life so that when something would come up that needed to get handled, I would just say, sweetheart, all you can do is deal with what's unfolding in front of you. Breathe and deal with it. And I love when we can really see and experience in our daily lives the tangible result of making this practice. 10 minutes a day is all it takes to begin really anchoring in this practice. So thank you, Susie. I'm glad to hear that. You know, it reminds me of one of my self-care wisdom cards says, one of the messages on the card says, I'm going to forget exactly what it says, but something like, just because someone creates drama doesn't mean you have to attend the performance, right? And it's all about creating a drama-free zone. And we become less of a source of drama in other people's lives when we're meditating. We're not stirring the pot. We're not overreacting. We're not, saying stupid things that we later regret. We're able to just stop, take a deep breath, come back to being an adult in the moment, and then respond. And then it saves us a lot of grief. And it also is so loving to everyone around us. So, and I will tell you, I promise you this, if you haven't noticed this already, 95% of the stuff that happens in life will figure it out if you just stay out of the way. And meditation is like staying out of the way. That's how I think of it. It's like, don't get in there and get your hands dirty and muck everything up. Stay out of the way, observe what's happening, respond when you need to. And 95% of the time, problems solve themselves. If you haven't begun to see that a little bit, I promise you, you will begin to see it over time. So thanks very much, Susie. I appreciate that. Colleen, what about you? Hi, Colleen. There you go.
Yeah, I have been meditating every morning, and through this, I have now journeyed on a different path in my life. So it's really helped me become stronger in that decision making. Being quiet helped me to realize that I had to make a choice for myself. I had to put myself ahead of my job and other people in my life.
Good. Great. And that's sort of what Susie is saying. Something you just said, I wanted to say, went right out of my head. It'll come back. But that's exactly what I know what it was. Okay. Here's what happens. When you meditate, you become a safe advocate for yourself, right? I would say 99% of the choices and decisions we're making in life are in an effort to either make something happen or prevent something from happening so that we feel okay inside. But when you learn to be okay inside with whatever is happening, you become a safe place. And in that safe place, we find clarity. And when you have clarity, you can make better choices that honor your self-care. And it sounds like that's a bit of what's happening for you, Colleen. So I'm really glad to hear that. Good for you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Stephanie, what about you? I can't see you, but I can see your hand up. Stephanie T? You have to unmute. Okay, maybe she went away. Lalitha, am I saying your name right? You want to unmute yourself? There you go. Hi.
Hi. I have been following you for a long, long time. After reading your book, I became your fan.
Thank you.
And stand up for your life and make time for your all the book. It's my favorite books.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I have been meditating. Just you encouraged me to. I was, not regular, consistent in my practice, but you encouraged me. I keep a record of every day.
Good.
So that made me proceed. Do everyday meditation. That gives me encouragement from you. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, Lalitha. And thank you Thank you for showing up and doing the work, and tracking your meditation makes a big difference. Once you get a long, row of success, you don't want to break it. And it's just a great reminder, at night when I go to bed and I take out my little diary and I put an M with a check mark next to it, it helps to build in the memory that this is a practice that matters, that you're going to stick with over time. So thank you, everybody. I'm glad to hear that this is working. And for those of you that maybe haven't been consistent, no big deal. You get off the wagon, you get back on. That's called life. Things happen. When we're building a new practice, when we're learning to make silence a friend, it can be an up and down journey in the beginning. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you just keep returning to getting back on the wagon and returning to the practice. That's what makes all the difference in the world. So let's start by doing some meditation, shall we? I'm thinking it would be great to do a 5-minute meditation. I would love for us to do it again, as we've done before, for Ukraine, creating peace in that part of the world. I don't want to forget about that. It's so easy with everything that's going on with the political system and the Supreme Court in the United States and all of, every day I feel like there's some new major drama for all of us to contend with. And it would be so easy to forget the people. And, sometimes I say to myself, Cheryl, I think about the people in the Ukraine who are dealing with this. And I think, when I look at what they're up against, and the bravery and the courage and the strength of all peoples, all shapes, sizes, ages, there are times where I just say to myself, when I'm hesitant to do something, I think, are you kidding me? I was thinking about that at the retreat this past weekend. We did a polar plunge. We jumped into the water. And I thought, I'm going to balk about going into the cold water. All I had to do was think about the people in Ukraine, and I got my butt in that water very, very quickly. I think about that a lot. We can find courage and bravery when we pay attention to what our fellow humans are capable of. We can be inspired by their courage and their strength. And so I want us to remember them and to stay connected to the people in both Russia and Ukraine who just want peace. They just want peace like we all do. So get comfortable. Let me just remind all of you of what we've learned throughout the weeks of doing this together. When you close your eyes, you make alpha waves. Your brain starts making alpha waves. It starts slowing your body down, breathing slowly in through your nose and even more slowly out through your nose is another technique for engaging the parasympathetic nervous system and calming the body down. Just watching your thoughts, remembering you are a soul with a mind. The mind is your friend and your tool, not the other way around. You manage the mind, it doesn't manage you. So you want to just observe your thoughts and the mind is going to have you believe that getting involved with your thoughts is a good thing, but it's only going to make a mess. So just watch them and let's follow along. I'll guide you in just a brief meditation around sending peace to the good people of Ukraine and in Russia who want peace. So get comfortable, close your eyes if you feel okay doing so. And just take a few slow, deep breaths in a way that feels comfortable to you. Feel your body, wherever it is, on a chair, on a sofa, in bed, wherever it is. Come home to yourself. Remember that sensation brings you into the present moment. So remember to just notice how your body feels in space. Notice what you hear around you. Could even notice if there are any scents in the room. Feel your breath moving in and out of your body. And as you enter into this, silence, let us together visualize a beautiful golden blanket of peace. A healing blanket of golden light, slowly descending over Ukraine and Russia and all the surrounding lands. Let this golden blanket drop down, down, down over the land, healing those it touches, laying a ceasefire across the lands. Bringing comfort to everyone who needs comfort. Let the silence heal everyone involved. And as we imagine this golden blanket of light covering the land, let us quietly to ourselves just repeat the word peace, peace, peace. It's beautiful. And when you're ready, you can just slowly bring yourself back to the room here with me. It's a good practice as we are tempted to get involved in the happenings of the world. You know, when our mind grabs a hold of what's going on and starts arguing with people, or, you know, commenting on what's happening, or just getting wrapped up in world events. It's so helpful to just return to a peaceful place, knowing that that's what will allow you to make your greatest contribution in the world. You know, I talk about the last time we were together, I talked about bringing presence to everyday life, right? Taking your meditation practice and what you're learning and what you're practicing into your everyday life, and, you know, loading the dishwasher with presence, feeling the dishes, feeling the water on your hands, noticing the sounds that the dishes make when you put them into the dishwasher. Or, you know, I think I talked about when I'm scooping the cat box, right? Being present for scooping the cat box, just simple little things, making a meal, getting changed, brushing your teeth, just noticing, saying to yourself, be here right now, naming what you're doing. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm putting toothpaste on my toothbrush. I'm feeling my feet on the floor. I'm looking into my eyes. I'm brushing my hair and feeling the brush going through your hair. These are the simple ways that we keep returning to this moment, where in this moment, especially if you practice the little exercise from my friend Joseph, as I've said before, when you close your eyes and you focus on what's the next thought I'm going to think. When you do that, when you're perched on the edge of the next thought, you realize there's no suffering in that moment. Our suffering is completely directly related to us wanting something to be a certain way. I don't want there to be a war in Ukraine. I don't want people to suffer. I don't want Putin to do what he's doing. I don't want there to be such discord in the country that I live in. And the more I focus on what I don't want, the less peaceful I become. Instead of recognizing, now, I am in no way, and I've said this before, I'm in no way suggesting that we discount our feelings. You've got to be able to feel your feelings and allow yourself to have that experience, but you don't want to live there. And if you have a hard time, if you're really struggling, if you're really suffering with what's going on in the world, you also, you know, reach out for help and talk with somebody, you know, be able to work it through with somebody so that you can come back to a peaceful center. So we want to be able to bring meditation into our daily lives. And I love it. Michael Singer always talks about the low-hanging fruit, which you've heard me mention, the simple little things. You know, you get aggravated by an email, or you're aggravated by, you're waiting in line. The other day I was waiting in line. I laugh at myself. I was waiting in line for a table at a restaurant during the retreat. And it was taking longer than I wanted it to take. And so I started to get aggravated. I'm standing there getting aggravated. And then I noticed I was getting aggravated. And I said to myself, oh, Cheryl, you're aggravating yourself. This is not about the people in the restaurant. You can actually decide to close your eyes right here in this moment and just enjoy a few minutes of peace while they're finding a table for you. Or you can get aggravated. Which one do you choose? Right? So that's the simple things in life, the simple times when we just notice when something aggravates us. Oh, I'm aggravating myself with my thoughts. That's what I say to myself. Look at what you're doing to yourself. Oh, you silly mind, knock it off. But then there's also times when there are bigger things happening in life. Someone you love is sick, or, you know, you're going through a divorce, or you are waiting for a diagnosis, or, you know, the big things that happen. When we learn to handle the little things, the bigger things get easier to handle. They're just less stressful. They're not, I mean, listen, you know, I was recently worried about a family member, and I watched myself get right in there. and start worrying and making up all kinds of stories in my head. What if this happened? What if that happened? Preparing 7 steps ahead for what I'd need to do if something happened. And then just reminding myself, well, no, come back here. What do you need to do right here in this moment? What can you do right here in this moment? Because you're planning your future, and there's a whole bunch of things that could happen that are going to interfere with that future. How many times do we do that, right? All the time. So this is the practice. We're going to continue with the 10 minutes because, again, I want you all to be just really proud of yourselves. That's what I want. I want you to be proud of yourselves. I want you to be able to say, I am a meditator and I am mastering this practice. And it is just making my life so much better and the lives of those around me so much better. So let's do a 10-minute meditation. And again, we're just going to practice. I'll guide you through the beginning of it a little bit, and then I'm going to mute my computer so that you can just all be in the silence. And then I'll let you know when to gently come back into this moment with me. Okay? So feather your nest. Remember, you want to be comfortable where you are. I know it might be a little bit difficult when you're on the computer, but when you're not here, you definitely want to make sure that you put yourself in a very comfortable place. Remember, we talked about maybe using the same place over and over again so the body gets attuned to that spot, and it naturally begins to relax once you hit the chair or the bed or wherever it might be. Also, please remember that all of these Zoom recordings are on YouTube, so you can always go back to the very beginning and listen to them and meditate with them as a way to kind of shake things up. Sometimes I'll change where I meditate as a way to shake things up. One of my favorite places to meditate, you're all going to think this is crazy, but I bought myself a inversion table last year. And sometimes I meditate hanging upside down, and it is awesome. It is awesome. No more than 10 minutes. But it's just, I feel like I'm just nourishing. I feel like as I'm meditating, I'm not only nourishing my spirit, but my head and my shoulders are getting lots of blood. And so sometimes I shake it up in terms of where I choose to meditate. You can do that too, but it's good to have a practice in one place that you return to on a consistent basis. Okay, so here we go. When you're comfortable, you can go ahead and close your eyes. It is such a joy to see all of you with your eyes closed meditating. It just makes me so happy. I'm so grateful that all of you are doing this. You're so beautiful when you meditate. You really are. So breathe. Your brain's already making alpha waves, already calming you down. Breathe slowly through your nose, as you know how to do. Slowly in and slowly out, even more slowly out. Just let your thoughts float by like weather patterns. You are the sky, and your thoughts are just weather patterns. Let them float by. Don't grab a hold of any of those clouds, just let them move past you. You're doing great. Let yourself settle into the silence as we continue. When you're ready, you can slowly bring yourself back. Good job. I love that you all want to come together and meditate. I think it's so great. So before I take any questions that you might have, I wanted to just give you a little additional exercise to do. I don't think I've done this before, but. And I don't want to load you up with things. I'm a very big believer in just repetition, just doing the things, over and over and over again. But one of the little things I do is when big things are happening in my life and I'm feeling overwhelmed by them and the mind grabs a hold and I get on the crazy train. Remember we talked about the crazy train early on? I get on the crazy train and before you know it, it's off and running and I'm like, trying to jump out the window sort of thing. I will often put my hand on my heart and just say to myself, come home, sweetheart. Come home, sweetheart. And it's especially helpful when I'm dealing with something difficult and I'm worried and I start to, the thoughts ramp up. I'll say to myself, come home, sweetheart. And I've used that phrase as an anchor, really is what it is, an anchor that reminds me, the more you use it, the quicker you'll return to the present moment in a calm state because your mind hears that as a instruction, really. So I wanted to just invite you as you continue with your meditation practice, when you find yourself getting amped up is the best way when you find energy start to course through you. So this is even before your buttons are pushed and you're really like, you can feel the adrenaline running through your body. It's just when you notice a shift in your energy that something is about to grab you. I want you to watch for that, is when you can say, come home, sweetheart. Just like that in a very loving voice. Come home, sweetheart. I do now. I find myself automatically doing that without even, it's not intentional on my part. If I'm upset about something, I'll catch myself suddenly out of the blue, just go, sweetheart, come home. Or I'll even go, sweetheart, what's going on? What do you need here? Because in some ways I like to objectify the mind. In other words, I'm the soul, I'm the adult, capital A, I'm the authentic self, capital S, whatever you want to call it, the higher self, the wise one. That's who we really are. And we often mistake that with the thinking mind because it's so powerful. We all have this, as Michael Singer calls it, we have an inner roommate, right? And for most of us, if we were living with somebody that spoke to us the way our inner roommate does, we would have kicked them out a long time ago, right? And so we want to cultivate this loving voice, and that's what come home, sweetheart feels like to me. It feels like a very loving voice. Makes me think of Louise Hay. Louise was always like that, always talk to yourself nicely, darling, she would say, be nice to yourself, sweetheart. And I think that's probably where I really, in spending so much time with her, traveling around, we would both remind each other of that. And I think that's really where I got it from. So, or where it began to be really anchored into me, into my practice. So anyway, let's see if you have any questions. You are welcome to put them in the chat box and I will just buzz through here and see if there are any in here yet that I might be able to help you with. Terry, thank you for putting the link to the Zoom gatherings, the prior ones. That's great. Jerry says, when I feel like complaining about silly stuff, I think about the people in Ukraine suffering. Also, the people here in New Mexico affected by wildfires, yes. I mean, there's another place we could put like a nice cool blanket of water over there. Organic Child says, as I was meditating, I thought, why can't the Putins of the world choose peace? But then I realized that why questions often don't have answers. Not only that, but that's what the mind wants you to do. It wants you to start engaging in that discussion. It feeds off of those discussions. When in fact, that's a great time to go, come home, sweetheart. Come home, sweetheart. Hi, Judith and Chuck, by the way. I see you now down there in the corner. I'm glad to see you here. Glad to see you here. How do you translate statements like knock it off into inner calm physical states of being? Come home, sweetheart is much better than knock it off. You're welcome, Maureen. Let's see. Okay, well, look at that. No questions. You all have all the answers already, which I knew that. You have them inside of you. So with that then, why don't we just do, or if you want to raise your hand, by the way, if you have a question and you prefer to raise your hand, then put it in the chat box. You're welcome to do that. Otherwise, we can do a meditation and finish early for today with your practice. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Lonnie says, can you revisit rise and release? That's a really good one. So I think a couple of classes back, I talked about this whole notion of rise and release, which is a bit of what we spoke about, I think, in the last one. So it's about noticing when, so, okay, let me say it this way. Let me say two things. First of all, Michael Singer has a new book coming out in a couple of weeks called Living Untethered. And I would really encourage you to get it, because in his work, he talks a lot about when we begin to practice meditation, being present with ourselves. What often happens is the old stuff that we've stored inside by resisting it or not liking it or pushing it down or whatever will often rise. Same thing happens in our daily life. When something pushes your buttons, it's because there's a button to push, which means something got stored inside, often long ago, that gets triggered again. And usually what we do, what the mind wants to do, is shove it back down again. And it lives there. I love, one time I was listening to a Michael Singer talk while I was working out, and he gave this really great example. He said, let me see if I can do it justice. He said, let's imagine that you went out to eat and you got some bad food that made you sick. Well, stuffing those things down would be like every time you went out to eat and got food that made you sick, you got a doggy bag and you brought it home and you put it in the fridge. And when you were hungry, you'd go into the fridge and dip into the doggy bag with the sick food, right? Or the food that made you sick, I should say. Well, very often, without even knowing it, when we get aggravated or our buttons get pushed or overwhelmed or whatever, we start tapping into that old stuff. And it comes up. And what we typically want to do is shove it back down. But that's like storing bad food in your apartment or in your home. Instead, we want to allow that stuff. You want to like take it to the dumpster. But I like to call it rise and release, which means when old memories come up, when old feelings come up, when old experiences come up, I will say to myself, just let it rise and release. And I physically, I don't even know how to explain it, except that I really do kind of visualize and feel that whatever experience comes up, I imagine it rising up around me and releasing into the air to be transmuted in some way. So that's what rise and release is. And it's a great practice for those times when you notice, oh, that thing is here again. I thought I dealt with that. Why is that back? Because there's more stuff inside related to that just needs to come up and be released. So rise and release. Now, of course, for some people, when they begin to get quiet with themselves, which is a new experience for a lot of people, I might add, painful things come up. And if those painful things are overwhelming in any way, it may be an indication that there's some healing work to be done with a therapist, with a body worker. Like, this isn't just about there are times when the healing that's required needs the assistance of a loving partner. And if something continues to come up and it feels overwhelming in some way, that could be a good indication that it might be time to ask some friends for a referral to a therapist, or go online to Psychology Today where they have a Find a Therapist section. But getting some kind of professional support is important. We're not using this practice to just override uncomfortable feelings. That's not healing. That's just storing bad food in your refrigerator. We don't want to do that. We want it to be able to rise and release. And if you can't do that on your own, you may need somebody else to do it with. So I hope that that's helpful and that makes sense. Okay, thank you. Yes, thanks for the Living Untethered link that's in here. Yes, that's the one. Okay, I'm just looking in the chat box. You've got the name of the book, Feelings Buried Alive, Survive. Yes, there's actually a wonderful book, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about buried feelings. It's in the title. It's an old book, very good one. Yeah, good. I'm glad. Organic Child. And okay. All right. When it rises, do you feel it? Yes, that's the point. It may come up as tears, it may come up as frustration or anger or whatever, just let it rise and release. If you can relax and imagine it just rising and actually imagine yourself releasing it to the air, unless it's big stuff that needs to be dealt with, you might actually find that the more you breathe and let it rise and release, the quicker it passes. That's what we hold on to, that stays with us and tortures us throughout our lives, because nobody's taught us to let it rise and release. All right, Sarah, question before hopefully we're going to sneak in a meditation, Sarah. So let's make it quick. Go ahead. You were unmuted. I can't hear you, dear. You have to unmute. If you're on your computer, bottom left-hand corner, there you go.
So I'm blind in my left eye, and sometimes I lose my mouse. I have to find it.
Yes, I got that.
Okay. I do notice, I want to thank you as well. I'm noticing more and more situations, I think, where I would have snapped. And I know that this meditation is helping me. I try and do it almost every night for about 10 minutes. I found one or two that I really enjoy and I feel very calm with, and it has helped me a lot.
Good.
I know there are, and even in a couple projects that I'm working on, I'm feeling more confident with it.
Good.
I think I know this meditation is helping me with that.
Yes.
All put together.
Yes.
So thank you.
Good. You're very welcome. That's what happens when you become a safe place inside yourself. Your confidence, your self-esteem, your courage, all of that rises as a result. We are most afraid of the critical voices in our head. We project those critical voices out onto the world. Public speaking is a great example of that. People who are afraid of public speaking think they're afraid of what the audience is going to think, when really what they're afraid of is the critical voice in their head that's going to narrate something uncomfortable after they've given their talk. So, and that's how a lot of us go through life. So when you learn to meditate and be present with yourself and be calm with yourself and come home to yourself and be kind to yourself, you become a much safer person to be around. And that's what we want here, because you don't want to give up that safety. You don't want to give up that peace once it gets really anchored into your experience. So it's a great example of that. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see if we can sneak in a quick little 5-minute meditation, shall we, before we wrap up? Let's do it again. Practice, practice, practice. So here we go. Just close your eyes. You know exactly what to do now. Closing your eyes and breathing slowly. Creating a beautiful, safe, and loving place inside. Allowing whatever thoughts or feelings might occur to you to just rise and release. Just let the clouds pass and enjoy the silence. Beautiful. When you're ready, you can come back. So if you all would like to meet again, we could do, okay, we could do May 18th. So 2 weeks from today, May 18th, same time, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. And the recording will go up in the next few days onto YouTube again, in case you want to listen or meditate. I know the 5 minutes went by very fast. You notice how fast it goes now? 5 minutes feels like that compared to the beginning. That's great. So I wanted to say this about Rise and Release too before we leave. I wanted to say that even during the day, when something happens that bothers you and you start to get upset, that's when it's not only when you're meditating and something occurs to you, but when something happens and you feel upset or hurt or whatever, that's also an important time to practice rise and release, rather than try to stop it or run to the fridge or have a temper tantrum. You want to just breathe and say to yourself, it's okay, sweetheart. Rise and release. We got this. We can get through this together. Let's just let it rise and release. You want to remember to do that. Okay. You were all wonderful. And I'm so grateful to all of you for being here with me. So many of you just return, and I appreciate that a lot. And I will look forward to seeing you on the 18th. I'm seeing your notes in here. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that this is healing for you. It's normal for emotions to come up, Cheryl. Rise and release. Lots of sadness coming for lots of people lately. Just allow yourself to feel the sadness. There's nothing wrong. Feelings are good, people. Feelings are good. So thank you, everybody. And you're very welcome. I'm very glad that you were here. And Susan, I'm glad that this was your first time, and I'm glad you found it helpful as well. And I will look forward to seeing all of you on the 18th of May, just in 2 weeks from now. Okay? All right. Mwah. Lots of love, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.